We are recording now. No, you're not. You're going to wait. You promised that
Okay.
you'd let me actually introduce you, you bastard, instead of the other way around. Look
I'm
at him.
sorry.
He's up and about. You shouldn't have
My
had
help's
that
up.
can of Coke, mate. Put it down. It's too much caffeine. It's not good for you. Guys and girls, welcome to our second XY Academy webinar. No, we are not XY Advisor. We are XY Academy. We do have one thing in common, the X's and Y's, the thing that makes us different. They're focused on XY advisors. We're focused on helping advisors get more Gen X and Gen Y clients. And that is why today I have Stu joining us, playing second fiddle. Bullshit, there's no chance that's going to happen. Coming at us from our hashtag so Sydney inner west retro chic warehouse style, and he's going to be talking to us about the client and the experience, which is amazing. So my job today is actually the least amount.
Yeah.
I'm going to be Stu's coffee bitch. I'm going to be making sure that he looks really good. I'll be doing Q&As. I'll be answering all that stuff in the chat box. I'll do the polls, the official polls, not including Stu's impromptu ones. So I'm going to literally hand the reins over to Stu, and then he will let me know when I'm allowed to hit the polls thing. So remember, guys, as usual, from those of you that turned up to the first webinar, for those, if you did go to the first webinar, hit us up in the chat box and let me know that you are a repeat offender, because I want to give special shout outs to people that decided to come back twice. I will manage all of that stuff, but for now I'm going to hand over to Stu to run things. And I'm going to chime in from every now and then and question some of his outlandish claims, because we all know what these business consultants, you know what the nickname is for a business consultant, Stu?
No, go ahead. I love it.
You're a seagull. Do you know why you're a seagull?
Yeah. Go on. You're
Because
gone.
you fly in, you make a lot of noise, you shit everywhere, and then you leave the mess for somebody else to clean up.
Yeah, that's right. That's
But
exactly
you are the Stu Bell, the anti-seagull of business consultants. Mate, the floor is yours. Go for it.
See what happened there for a second is he actually felt slightly bad about saying that, and that's why he dripped in with the bit at the end. So I'm glad.
Because I feel bad about the stuff that I say, mate. Look at me. Look how upset I am.
Cool. Hey, I think it's hugely ironic that here I am presenting from the hipster capital of Sydney. Meanwhile, you're in Melbourne in an office. I find that amazing. But yeah, we can talk about it later. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for coming here today to join me. I'm just going to get my presentation up and running. What I'd love to do today is walk you through kind of a workshop that I've only run it a couple of times, to be honest. I've kept it in the back burner. And then when Steve turned around and said, Stu, I'd like you to run something sort of that you've never run before, sort of in this environment. And he's going to add a lot of value to people who are aiming to sort of target an XY sort of marketplace. So it just made sense to me to sort of offer this one or come. And I'm going to give you a bit of a run through of sort of the key bits and give you as much as I possibly can in the next 40 to 50 minutes. So the session's called The Offer and the Experience. And I guess what I'm aiming to run you through here today is essentially to help you understand those two things. What's the offer you have to make, ideally to clients who want to work with you on an ongoing basis that's going to be incredibly compelling? In other words, that you don't have to persuade them to want to work with you. It just makes sense that they would make a choice to engage with you within the short term and the long term. And secondly, I want to talk about that bit about making it easy to deliver. Does that sound cool? Perfect. By the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the box, send them through. As I said, Steve is on. We got to give Steve something to do today. So
I'm managing the chat box, guys. So just fire them away, and I'll collate them and make sure that I hit Stu up. I like to interrupt his flow just when he feels like he's on top of his game.
He will. So feel free to mute. No, I'm joking. So was there a poll we had coming up, or were we just going to kick?
Mate, you ready for me to do the first poll? We're going to do that now, guys. So we're about to launch.
Cool.
I'm even going to let Stu vote on this one as well. So you should be seeing your poll up number one. Now, do you want to read through these, mate?
Yeah, I will do. So I really want to know, I guess, why are you here today? What's brought you here in particular with this proposition? So question one, I really want to know, in your business right now, what do you need most? in terms of the ongoing proposition you have with your clients. So, and feel free to select more than one. Is it that you want more clients who are saying, yes, I'm in, rather than, yeah, I'll think about it? Do you want an offer where there's less reliance on you to deliver it? Do you want to create more profit? In other words, that you want to make sure that what you're doing ongoing enables you to at least support your expenses, if not more, have a better client experience to get more clients or advocates, or not really sure of any of those things? That's the first thing I'd love to know, and that'll give me some input as to where we should take this. The second question is around the offer. And I want to know what's most important to you in terms of your articulation of why clients would work with you. Is it you'd like to be able to get better at explaining it really, really clearly? Is it about being able to have a good offer for the right kind of client? Is it to make it a non-negotiable part of working with you? Or is it to be able to outline, why you want to work together, what it's all about before you get into the nuts and bolts of, what's actually included, the review and all those other deliverables? And the third question I'd love to know is at the end of the experience, what's the most useful concept that you want to inject into your client experience piece? Is it to get better at exciting them? Is it to get better at meeting them halfway so they do a bit more of the work? To get better at sort of having a clear benchmark so they can measure the success of your advice? Is it to train them how to work with you better so they kind of don't phone you on weekends and they go down the right channels? Or is it to be able to sort of put forward the idea that I have a system that enables you to achieve an outcome in a certain period of time, rather than, I'm an expert and, your relationship is with me. So love for you to pop them in the box and let me know what you want most. And once we've done that, Steve's going to give me the go ahead and we're going to kick into it.
Yeah, we're starting to see some strong responses coming through. Now, Stu, you can or cannot see them on your end?
I can't, but that might be, maybe they'll submit some stuff.
That's fine. I think what happens is I am the keeper of the votes. It's like Brownlow night. I don't want you knowing that you're that far in front, because then you just get lazy. So we've got 32 of 39 have voted. Clearly, we might have a few of us that are driving cars. So.
Okay.
33 of 39, up to a very good response, mate. So, Perfect. Would you like me to share some of the results with you? Should we do that?
Yeah. Look, give me the top impressions you're getting through.
All right, so we're going to close the polling now, and the results should be coming live to you.
I can see that. So we've got a lot of people who want clients to say hell yeah instead of just I'll think about it. Definitely people who are being able to sort of go above the deliverables and explain, why we're working together, what the problems we're solving, and the ethos behind it is really important. So I'm going to share some things there. And the excitement piece, which I reckon, we've absolutely got what we can.
So my first question, you would have done this sort of more as an impromptu poll at the presentations and the workshops. Are these results consistent with what you saw last time, or are you seeing a little bit of a difference in what you're getting today?
I think there's always a consistent view amongst advisors out there. They want to have a feeling that their clients are getting massive value. So that's the hell yeah, they've got the right offer, that they can actually put things out there that I guess they get good feedback from, because it's a whole net promoter score. For most people, it's not enough for the clients to go, yeah, I'm happy. Most of us want clients to go, I love it. I'm really into it. And that other bit about outlining the why and the what, I think is also really important, because it's the whole expert's conundrum. Sometimes you're so deep inside what you do, it can be really hard to step back from it and go, okay, look on it with fresh eyes. What is it that I do that's actually most important? And ultimately, if you're trying to persuade people that they want to work with you being able to nail that, here's what this is going to do for you, not we do a review and there's a news, all that rubbish. Not that it's not important. It's just that's the stuff that needs to come later. So pretty consistent. Although I'm noticing there's a pretty even spread there as well. There's most people, there's not very few sort of points in there where you'd say that's not important at all.
But the big outlier is the get better at exciting my clients, like 70% of the vote on that one. That's huge.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that in the context of the review, because the reality is, as I'm going to talk about in a second, the review's kind of, it's like the youngest child in a big family. It just doesn't get the love of like the first appointment, the engagement process. And it really, it should, in a model where, your proposition is more aligned to the coaching end of the scale than it is aligned to, the product specialist or the funds management end of the scale, if that makes sense.
All yours, mate. Go for it.
Okay. So very quickly, if you don't know anything about me, I'm not going to dwell on this. I've been doing this for about 17 years. My specialization is the sweet spot between sort of tech startup thinking, lean startup, all that stuff, and advisory business models. I've written a couple of books about it, and I run a program called the Leveraged Advice Firm. And what I'm going to be drawing from today is many of the sort of key concepts that come from that firm around, how to build a scalable service offer, price for profit, and really install some wow, as well as removing friction in that first part of the process. The big idea, I think, that I wanted to really get across to start with, what this is all about is about making sure that retaining clients becomes just something that is part of your business activity. To be able to grow your business from the existing client base rather than constantly have to be necessarily looking externally. It's also about making your ongoing service offer more deliverable. And it's what it's not about, and that's really important. I'm not here to necessarily teach you how to sign new clients to ongoing service, although some of what we'll talk about today and some of what's in the course will absolutely do that. I'm not here to teach you how to build a service model step by step. Some of the concepts we're going to cover are going to dovetail into that. And most importantly, I'm not here to preach one advisory business model over another. I am not a consultant who comes to the table and say there's only one way to do business, because I've seen hundreds of different business models, but I do know there are some core elements that you need to look at to make your business model work for you. So what I want to do instead is open a discussion today, as deeply as we can possibly go, about two elements of the way that you work with clients and how to deliver that value year after year. And I want to start by establishing a baseline on two things. The first one is I want to understand what clients want. And that's really important to me, because in a customer-centric sort of tech thinking style model, it's not about what you want to build. It's what's the problem is the clients have and what do they value. And secondly, what needs to be considered in terms of you being able to deliver that. So I guess probably one thing to say is I read a heck of a lot. And we know from a lot of the stuff that comes through that once clients are invested in advice, they're pretty sticky. And anybody who's sort of, seen the whole sort of Royal Commission feedback from clients will know that most of the clients who are engaged with advice, who like it, they don't see a problem. They're not sort of putting you in a barrel that says, oh, I wonder if my advisor is one of those guys. The problem is those who aren't necessarily engaged with advice or don't fully get it. The question I want to know when I started building this module is what defines success to a client? And I read a lot. And one of the great studies on this was from a study called the Expectation Advice, done by IOOF and Dean Lombardo. And it was based on 312 existing ongoing advice clients. And as you can see, the overwhelming response to that, 76% said what makes it successful is achieving goals and objectives. Now, here's the really key part why this is important. There is a disconnect here, because 60% of those clients who said that was important, they did not know. They didn't know where they were on track to achieving those things. 48%. Are the slides changing? Because we're not seeing that. Peter, can everyone see the slides changing, or are they stuck?
No, we're stuck on slide one.
Okay,
Well, you want to take that off and go back?
Let's start again. That's not very helpful. Okay. Hey, Peter, by the way, thank you. Okay. How about now?
We are trying to change a slide for us, mate, and make sure we can see that.
This is about?
We are still on successful. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
We're good.
We're good. Okay. Thanks, Peter, for that. I appreciate it. Otherwise, that was going to be a long webinar with everyone going, this is a really boring slide deck. Okay. Yeah. And 48% of businesses who are surveyed also didn't know. And this is kind of important for a couple of really, really key reasons. First thing, clients who knew this were 89% of them would report, if they knew whether they were in terms of those goals, reported they were receiving value for money, versus 42% who didn't know. Those who understood where they were in terms of achieving those goals were 5.3% less likely to go out and seek alternative advice, and they were 3 times more likely to refer. In other words, 7.2% versus 2.6%. Now those, I don't know what you think, Steve, but they're big numbers, and they're numbers that are directly tied to business outcomes and financial outcome and a growth outcome. Does that make sense so far?
Yes, it
Did
does.
that slide just change?
Yes, we're moved. Cool. We're looking at Vanguard's quantifying the value out of best practices.
Perfect. All right. The second piece is this really key question of, what is the value of advice? And Vanguard have done this a few times, and this is a study I really love. You haven't seen it. It's really useful. And I think the coolest number of that, where they quantify the value of advice, and they say the value of what you do is worth about 3%. The most important thing for me is that fourth line down, behavioral coaching, 150 basis points. In other words, helping people to save themselves from themselves, or encouraging them to do things that they otherwise wouldn't do, or not do things, or get them just started earlier, which I think is the biggest lever of all, is worth 50% of the value of advice overall. Twice as much as, the cost of implementation, and almost 4 times as much as rebalancing. So this is good news. This is good news because the answer tends to lie in the form of financial coaching, but it's also challenging because coaching itself is a difficult model. And that's one of the reasons why, what Steve's doing and what people are doing in the sense of taking the coaching relationship and trying to scale it is absolutely vital if, as an industry, we're going to get takeoff. That makes sense. There's also a few things I want to point out sort of in the landscape, which are important to note, so the macro. The first thing is that we're in a really interesting spot right now. There's a lot of money flushing around the industry from external investors who are looking to invest in advisory business models. And the reason they want to do it is because the yields on advice business models are still pretty good. And they're looking for specific kinds of business, but they're looking for businesses who are going to do this journey from scale pretty quickly. In other words, they want to invest in businesses who recognize that if they're going to develop and sort of maintain, they need to find a way of engaging with more clients out there and do it in a way that is far less manual than it currently is. The other thing we're seeing a lot of entrants of a lot of different types of hybrid businesses, robo-advisors. We're seeing cross-pollination from other industries. We're seeing the coming together of, accounting and broking and all the rest of it, and banks and self-service and all this sort of stuff, which means there is more and more competition sort of floating up. And the challenge when there's more competition is people have more options. And the problem with more options is we know there's a point which people go past where too much choice actually becomes a bad thing. But I think one of the most important things is kind of this idea that, do you remember in 2013, Steve, when the Nokia was acquired by Microsoft, and the CEO of Nokia stood up in front of the press conference and said, "Look, we didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, that's bullshit, right?
I wasn't listening. I was still playing Snake on my Nokia. And I looked up and I went, "What?" I was like,
well, this is the thing. Do you remember the 3310? It was that phone that would start running out on Friday. You turn to your friend on Friday night and say, "Oh my God, my phone's nearly out of batteries." And then it would basically run out sometime on Monday. And there was this demand for releasing the 3310. All they had to do was get the same phone and release it. And they did what Nokia always do. They tinkered with it and they tried to create a different model and all the rest of it, and they failed. This is the thing. Nokia failed because they didn't learn. Shane misses BlackBerry. They didn't learn. They didn't change. They didn't evolve. They just kept on being Nokia, and that's why they lost. And Charles Darwin is often quoted as saying, evolution is survival of the fittest. But that's not what he said at all, was it? He actually said, evolution is survival of the most adaptable. And this is really what this is about. And I don't want to see our industry just survive. I actually want to see us thrive. So to do that, we need to understand the competitive pressures and not what we think advice should look like, but more importantly, what clients want advice to be, what they want to experience and the problems they want to get solved. There's another sort of issue we need to deal with. And that's of AI, which is another big buzzword. But a lot of people are looking at robo-advice and AI and wondering, what impact is this going to have on my business, on my industry? If there's a cheaper, faster, less labor-intensive version, what impact does that have? And I think Kevin Kelly, he was on a podcast with Tim Ferriss not that long ago. And he was asked, if you're a business and AI is kind of on the radar, when do you know you're under threat? And the answer was, there's a line in the sand. If you're a business that offers a service or a commodity, you are ripe for disruption because that's what tech does. It surrounds you. It basically replaces people with code. It's sexier online, and generally it's cheaper. And next thing you know, you've got nowhere to go. But if you offer an experience, you make people feel a certain way, you can't be touched because tech can't replicate that element. But at the core, what I want to talk about today and dive deep on this and the module and the whole course is about how you can be remarkable, and remarkable in the purest sense of the word, in the sense that you give people you work with cause to remark to other people about what you do. Does that make sense? Cool. Now, Steve, is there something you wanted to do?
Is that the thing that we talked about?
Yeah, we could pop that in.
The secret message thing. So
Yeah,
those of you that arrived or at our last webinar, last and first webinar would know that what I'm doing, and there's a couple of secret squirrels that might also be doing the same thing potentially in a month's time. I'm collating what I believe are the best of the best. And I'm bringing them into the crew, into the XY Academy crew. I should probably turn my video on so you guys can see me smiling while I'm talking about this stuff. Because the thing that Stu does really, really well in his space is the same thing that Tomo did really well does in his space, which is the video and the virtual meetings. And it's all good and well going to a webinar, but you can only learn so much.
Yep.
So what we're doing is we are assembling my version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and we're bringing to you courses off the back of what they're talking about in the webinars, and then we're awarding those that take action first. So my boys love Groot, Peter. There's like 50 Groots around our house of all of different sizes.
Peter, you need to type in Groot is dead and tell me what you think.
No, moving on. Okay, so where we're at though is we're launching the course for Stu's. We're launching pre-sale for Stu, right? So there's if you click on that link now, you'll be able to get a 50% discount in pre-sale mode to Stu's course. So we've got to stress it's pre-sale.
Yeah.
The course is not built and it is not going to be released probably for a couple of months, but you're basically getting a 50% discount on the premise that what you buy is going to be A grade because you know Stu's doing it. There's only 10 of those. So once those 10 are sold, that link will close automatically. So jump on it straight away to avoid missing out on your 50% discount.
It's kind of like one of those things where I'm about to show you through the course, but if you're already sold on some of it, or at some point, if you're sold on it, you can kind of go there and see what it's about. And if you like it, sign up for it. So why don't we just jump in? I'll talk you through what it's all about. But I guess the job of today and of the course is to break this down into two pieces. Part one is all about this offer. It's about what do you need to put out there? What do you need to articulate in order to sort of win moving forward? And a bit of the what, but hopefully a lot of the why. The second part is about the experience. How to deliver it in such a way that helps clients get the intended result and is commercially viable, which is a bit of the what and a bit of the how. So let's jump in and talk about part one. And I'll give you a bit of a run through some of the key concepts that this is based upon. My experience has been if you don't get this offer piece right, a few things can kind of trip you up. The first is that typically, if your offer's not compelling, obviously the value isn't there, you tend to get underpaid as an advisor. What you do gets undervalued, which is a real shame. Worst case scenario is you get undersubscribed. And I think the big outcome at the end of it all, if you don't nail this, is you kind of get stuck on that ladder. And I call it it's kind of the glass ceiling, where you can bring on board clients, but you can't bring them on board at sufficiently sort of engaged and a price point that enables you to invest in the business on the back end. And you can't necessarily retain everybody the way you'd like to. So you're kind of stuck in that bit of being kind of profitable, but not profitable enough to reinvest. And anybody who's sort of heard Peter Thiel talk about startup pricing, he says that one of the most important times as a business, you need to be able to charge at an appropriate profit margin at the beginning. You can worry about discounting later, but right at the beginning, you need to be able to invest, particularly in times of change. If you get this piece right, the offer, you see that businesses, they get paid. They get the remunerate, they get rewarded for what they do. Clients stick around because they kind of see what it's all about. They understand how it relates to what they're doing and they want to be part of it. Everything sort of ramps up. It builds on each other. So instead of sort of chasing client and trying to retain people, you can build and there's a firm base. And the real outcome, I think you benefit from this, is you get control. You get control over the revenue coming in, you get control over the investment piece, and you get control over what value you offer and what you do and what you don't do, if that makes sense. You control expectations. So let me hit you up with 5 sort of principles. These are, if you sort of base your thinking, you base your offer on these kind of thinking, it'll kind of give you the framework upon which this is all built. I think kind of one thing I want to start off with. I think can we announce your, yep, absolutely. I thought you were talking to me, Steve. Anyway, I think every consultant has sort of lived off Simon Sinek's "Start with the Why." You know, the how great leaders inspire action. And I think I've seen sort of so many people off the back of that create these videos where they sit in front of a video and they explain that, you know, I'm really passionate about advice. I love helping people, and I go riding on the weekends and all the rest of it, on the idea that that would allow clients to connect with them and move them forward. And I think maybe sometimes, in my opinion, is that I think people maybe took Simon the wrong way, or they reinvented what he was saying for marketing purposes, and they missed some of the meaning. Because I don't think Simon was talking about marketing. I think a lot of what he was talking about was leadership. It was about inspiring people around an idea that they connected with. He is right about one thing, though, and he's right about this, that people don't buy what you do. They buy what you do that will make their lives better. And this is why I kind of believe that sitting there and telling people, I'm passionate about this, they don't care as much as, can you solve a problem that I have in a way that I want it solved? There is so much around the industry, which is around explaining the process, explaining the areas of advice you offer, explaining how what you charge is better and how independence is better, the reasons for this. This isn't decision-making territory. What we can take from this isn't limbic brain stuff. This is neocortex. It's rationalization space. And if you're talking to people in that space, you know, as Simon said, you're not going to be in a position where you can help them make a decision. So principle number one is really simple, and it's based on some of that tech space. If you're going to construct an offer, step one is to start by asking, who are the people I'm working with and what are the problems I help them solve? You know, if you're working with retirees, the real problems that they're going to say are, I'm really nervous. I'm 5 years out from retirement. I've got this lifestyle and I don't know whether I can retire or, you know, if I'm going to have enough money. If you're talking to Gen X and Gen Y, where your conversation might be, content marketing is huge. Your conversation might be around, you know what, I've got a kid on the way, or I want to buy a house and I just feel like my money's leaking everywhere. Or alternatively, you know, I just can't see a way that I'm going to get ahead. If you can focus on the problems and almost like get a list and make, right, what are the people I want to work with and what are the things that I commonly they talk to me about, and start with that as your proposition. I'm a person who helps certain types of people solve this problem, and the impact of that problem on their lives is X, Y, and Z. That second bit, a lot of advisors don't always kind of go that far. They sort of say, okay, so you need to save more money, or you're not saving enough money. Well, that's great, but get to the emotional center. What's the impact that's having on people's lives? The second piece in this is, once you've got the problems, you want to be able to turn around to clients and say, so I help people solve these problems that are having this impact. And the way that I do this is via this solution, which gives you this benefit. Now, one of the things is, if you think about the way that we explain advice, we talk about things like statements of advice, and we'll do an insurance needs analysis, or, you know, we'll analyze your portfolio allocation. You know, if you're walking through a supermarket and you had to go to a shelf, and up on the shelf was an insurance needs analysis, or there was a portfolio allocation strategy, it's not going to grab you. And it's not going to grab you because these are our words. Now, I'm a geek from way back, and the tech sort of space, they used to, you know, describe things like executables and MS-DOS lines and all these, you know, all these terms that people just couldn't get their head around. And they worked out that if you're going to make tech mainstream, you've got to talk about apps and widgets and plug and plays and that sort of stuff. And as a result, they solved that problem, the gap that existed between them and the industry. In the program and in the course, there's a tool we use called the strategy handle. And essentially it's about taking something that you do, like a portfolio allocation or a budget, God, the B word. Peter, I know you'll have a big bee in your bonnet about the B word, and saying, how can I put this into wording which is such that if one of my clients was walking down into my aisle and they saw that, it would appeal for them to pull off the shelf. So it's about, what is the budget really all about? Well, it's about trying to save more money. It's about trying to save 20% of your income. It's about having space, choice. It's about having a growth ability. Great, we can grab all those words and then move over to the right-hand column. Living big, love it. Living big, awesome. And then you can put a label on it. So it could be the 30% system, a system for helping you serve 30% of your money. It could be the living big process. Again, if you're sending out to clients and say, what I do is sounds like you've got this problem saving money. You need a 30% system that you can follow to save money. Or alternatively, it sounds like you don't know where anything is. It sounds like you need a total wealth analysis report. Or guess what? You sound like you're really worried about stuff coming up. The spending and saving bigs blueprint. Love it. You need a plan B maximizer to have a look at what your plan B and your plan C are. And if you can get in that ability to explain, the problems you solve and the solutions you apply, you get into a space where suddenly these things, perfect. These are the things that you can put a label on. And I kind of describe it as the point at which you can put the thing you do and have a list of 10 of them and put them in a wheelbarrow. Imagine yourself rolling it. You're at a point where you can take what is an intangible thing and describe it to people in terms that they understand. So that's principle one. Principle two is once you've spoken to clients about this offer and you've said, here's your problem, here's the impact, here's the thing I can do, and here's the benefit, you need to explain the fit that your business is designed for and the ethos that sits behind it. In other words, your philosophy. The big tip here is people don't buy expertise. They don't buy intangible stuff, but they do buy systems. Now, the fit bit's easy. Hopefully, if you've been following some of what Steve says, you should be able to turn around and say, I work with certain types of people who typically have these kind of problems. And there's a psychological thing at work here, which is by a guy called Walt Whitman, who says, if you can explain a problem better than the person who understands it, they will assume you have the answer. But I think my biggest tip here, and one thing I really work through people with, is when you're explaining your ethos, you can turn around and say, we are a holistic advice firm. We work with clients across blah, 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 blah. But you need a model. You really do. We know models. The moment we see them, we know the Boston Consulting Group, cash cows and stars. We know the golden circle. We know Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And these are important because they enable us to put things into a box in our head and understand them visually straight away. And they increase comprehension by a factor of 10. There's various different ways that you can cut a model. You can have the Venn diagram thing to turn around and say, I work with clients in that sweet spot between their life and their money. And if we get this right, if you get, there's too much life, then you end up with no money. If there's too much money, you end up with no life. So my job is to work with you on the sweet spot. You could work up in the top left by looking at it as a ladder. You can do the exponential circles. Essentially, it's just about having a diagram that you can pull out during that conversation about the way you work and articulate not the process, but the system, the way you get people there. I'll give you a bit of a run through the one we use. I love this one. This is probably the one that gets most feedback on the program and people sort of run with. I kind of do sessions where I work people through exactly the same thing, and we sort of brainstorm what their model could be, and I usually just turn around and say, I'm just going to use this one. And I kind of think about financial advice, wealth creation, whatever you want to call it, as a game. And it's got 4 levels. The top level is when you win. This is financial freedom. And that means different things to different people, obviously. But for me, it's about that day you wake up in your bed, you look up at the ceiling, the sun's streaming through, and you go, I never have to work if I don't want to anymore. That's kind of winning. How do you do that? Well, step before that is you need to generate income. That's got nothing to do with work, right? And that might take place over a period of time, but generally we want to slowly replace that income and feel more confident about it. To do that, you need to accumulate assets over a certain time. Some of those assets might generate income, but we want to reinvest that back to grow those assets. Now, a lot of people think advice starts there, and it doesn't. There's a foundational bit, which if you don't get this foundation right, the whole thing can come crashing down. And that's, as you'd expect, cash flow. If you're a company and you're spending more money than you earn, over a period of time, you either sell your assets or you borrow. Either way, you do it for long enough and you can pull that brick out. Debt, maximize appreciating, minimize depreciating. Have a plan B, because you pull that block out, again, you've got a serious chance of it all falling down. And finally, estate planning to make sure everything goes to the right place. This, for me, is for most clients, is about an 18 to 24-month journey to get that correct. This can be 5 to 30 years. This is typically 10-year transition period, and this can be 30 years plus. And one of the purposes of working with an advisor is to make sure that you get that foundation in place. You get it sticky to start with. You work through the transitions when they pop up. You can maintain control over things as you go. And if anything comes along that threatens that, you can deal with it there and then. So it's the idea that if you can explain your thinking, your philosophy in terms of something you can draw, it can even be something that clients take away and sort of outlines what you do. So I'm going to keep going if that's cool. If you've got any questions, pop them through, but hopefully this is useful.
I've got an audio question for myself. Is it okay if, because this is exactly what we tried to do, give you a chance to have a sip of your
Yeah.
lifeblood. We tried to do this in our practice as well, and we ended up articulating it so consistently that we used to deliver it in a meeting. So we had the
Yeah.
experience wealth, how do you become financially independent model.
Yeah.
It was always delivered in the same meeting called Your Financial First Date, which was designed to effectively explain what would it look like if you were a client of ours,
Yeah.
who do we look after, how do we help them.
Yeah.
And we ended up explaining it exactly the same way the entire time, that we ended up shifting it from being a meeting to being a video. And we actually call it the Experience Wealth Purpose, Philosophy and Process.
Okay.
And that gets sent to clients. Now, are you okay if I share that video link to
Yeah,
everybody?
sure. Totally. Pop it in there.
It's almost like I'd already copied and pasted that on the premise that he was going to say yes, because if he didn't, that would have been completely awkward. So, guys, please don't watch that video now. Watch Stu, because he's bouncing about, he's up and about, and
Yeah.
it's love. But feel free to go and check that out later. And if anyone's got any questions about how we send that to clients when we use it, feel free to fire it through as well.
And look,
Stu, you let me know whenever you want me to jump to poll number 2, buddy.
I think point number 2 is at the end of it. Mark, the link is actually in the chat box, man. So if you pop across to the chat, it'll be in there. We'll do that sort of when we get to the end of this block.
Awesome.
Principle number 3 is really about being able to skillfully, once you've got that, the why, which is the problems and the solutions, the what, which is the who we work with, and the philosophy is being able to really articulate your process. And I just like to say to people, if I was looking for a financial advisor, I'd want 3 things. I'd want a plan, I'd want a system that I can manage it, and finally, I'd want someone to turn to if I needed some help. And then just outlining sort of what's available underneath that, and then being able to explain pricing, not as in, that awkward, so we charge this much, and then explaining it, but just saying, look, there's 3 things you need to know about the way we charge. We charge a flat fee, or we charge a hybrid fee. We charge a plan fee up front, and then we charge an ongoing, which starts at this point. And in your case, the range for the advice we've spoken about so far, I think it's going to be a range of about 5,000 to maybe 2,000. But in terms of confirming that, I'd like to go away and have a look at things and see where that lands. That makes sense? There's a 4th piece I want to say, which is let's talk about the ongoing service piece, because I think this is really important. At some point, whether you're talking to new clients or existing clients, you need to have a conversation about how we're going to work together. A lot of what I do as part of this module and on the course is not only how you structure the model, but when you talk about ongoing service. And I think one of the biggest challenges a lot of businesses have when they're putting their offer across the table is they try and lump it all together. And they say, well, you've got this problem and we're going to get you a plan. And by the way, here's the fee for ongoing. Those are 2 different problems. You're asking a client to make 2 decisions. In other words, I'm going to let this person solve this problem, and then I'm also buying into this ongoing thing that I don't really know about. And again, we know that when people are given too many options, too many choices, it causes procrastination. That doesn't mean that in the first appointment, you shouldn't, at that point where you're explaining, so this is our ethos, we work with clients. By the way, if we did work together, how would you see that working, to get an understanding? But the thing is, in order to actually represent your offer and sort of plug it into the why, I think there's a really key thing we need to get to understand. And that's around sort of the mistake that a lot of businesses have made in the past around service models. Because I've been around long enough to see so many silver, platinum, gold, which are ultimately they're revenue-based models based on the days when asset-based and commissions came in. The truth is there's an often repeated fact that only 15% of Australians get advice. And there's a really good reason for that. And the reason is we're only actually providing offers that make sense to 15% of the market. If you can get your head around the idea that there's 3 kinds of clients out there, and this is research coming from the States. The first kind of delegators, to use a furniture analogy, these are the kind of people who really don't want to be involved. They want to bring in a interior decorator who buys the furniture, makes it look fabulous, and they're willing to pay for someone else to do the work that they value but don't necessarily want to do. And typically, most advice businesses are set up to work with these people. The problem is, underneath that, we've got the validators, and particularly in the Gen X and Y market, all the research shows that Gen X and Y are big validators. They're the people that say, look, I don't necessarily want to hand it over, but I want somebody I can come in, bounce some ideas off who are going to tell me what I don't know. And the analogy here is they're kind of like the people at IKEA. They want to know that you've cut the wood, there's an instruction manual, they can go home and put bits of it together, and then they give you a call when they stuff it up. And there's always an option for them to pay to come along and do bits and pieces for it. And again, because our propositions are so tied to the other way of doing things, this often gets lost. And finally, there's this part of the market that are self-directed. In other words, it's not that they don't want advice. They're just at that point where they feel like they can do it themselves. Now, the point is this. My experience has been that self-directed people, not everybody become validators who then become delegators. But right here and now, the offer is only for delegators for the most part. Or it's being done in such a way that the price point is too high for them. Robo-advice and these other low-cost offerings know this. And that's why they're offering to get people on board now and work with them over time. So if we don't do something about this, if we don't create an offer that is profitable at that lower price points and gets people who don't want to hand it all over, but want some help, they want to have some access and be able to do it in such a way that doesn't, eat up time, that can't be commercially reclaimed, then we're going to find that the lead source is being cut off at the top of the funnel, which is going to be a nasty place. Exactly, Peter. With me versus do it yourself. The fifth principle I want to run through is stop making, if you're doing this thing where you put 3 offers in front of people and go, which would you like? I want you to stop making it a choice. The reality is, if I decided that I wanted to run a marathon, for whatever cringe reason, and I went to a personal trainer and said, look, I want to run a marathon. They'd look at me and go, you don't look like a runner, Stu, but let's work on this. And they'd say, right, you need running training, you need a diet, get off the booze. And if I turned around to them and said, cool, but I really like red wine, and no, I'm going to stick to eating crap at weekends and all that rest of it. The only thing they could turn around to me and say is, if you're not willing to follow the process that I know get the result, then maybe we should focus on the city to serve. As an advisor, if you buy into the idea that your offer is a system, which if clients follow it, will enable them to maximize their chance of getting the result, then if they don't choose to engage with you the way you recommend, then you have to, by definition, turn around and say, let's talk about the impact that's going to have on your achieving your goals.
So I think can I weigh in on that one?
Yeah.
So you're talking about, because obviously with a practice that looks after a lot of younglings, we don't have, oldest client's 52, and I joke that I'm just about to take him out into the back paddock and put a bullet in him because I don't know how to deal with him anymore. His wife's lovely, she can stay, but he's a pain in the ass, so he can go. But we've got an average client age of 37, average new client age of 31, and we've built the pricing model to be reflective of that sort of choice.
Yeah.
Between the Spotify standard versus Spotify family pack, the Netflix single versus multi. Before that, showing my age, it was the Foxtel packages. Everyone's like, what's Foxtel? Foxtel's where you pay 10 times as much for half as much value. Foxtel, ironically, Foxtel, whilst it's still sort of semi-new, Foxtel in my eyes is like the older financial planning practice where you pay for everything even if you don't want it.
That's exactly right, yeah.
But the reason why we created 3 packages and allowed the client to choose was that mindset of, I want to be in control of my choice. We still guide them as to where we think we can add the most value. So what do you say to that? Should I just be having one? Should I have my 3 packages and then force them into the right one? Or do you think I can still continue to suggest where they go, but then allow them to choose?
I think there's 4 factors, ironically. You need to ask yourself, when you put this choice in front of them, you also need to ask yourself, because you're the advisor, you're the professional. You're trying to assess whether these people are capable of getting there without your help. It's all very well them saying I'll do it, but people lie to themselves all the time. And that is, number 1, do they have the knowledge? Are they actually capable of managing the strategy and getting a result? If they know nothing about cash flow, then are you going to really leave them alone to do it? Are they actually interested in money? If they're interested in it, they may learn. If they don't care, then chances are they're going to drift. Do they have the time? Again, if they're time poor and they barely have time to manage it now, what's going to change? Are they going to have a monthly budget meeting or whatever it is? And finally, just have a look at their past performance. The reality is, if they're coming to you based on solving problems and getting a result. The ongoing service, like the plan is the first part. It's about getting them on track. The second part is what level of access do you want to me? In other words, how closely do you want me to keep you accountable? And then finally, what do you want us to look after versus you looking after? And I think the midpoint is to kind of say, if you know a lot about this stuff, you're interested, you're going to commit the time, and you know what, I can see you've done things right in the past, but it's just that you aren't necessarily doing the right things, then potentially you could ease up on the one-to-one, on the heavy stuff, and just have a checkpoint where you're more, hey, give me a quick update on where it's going. Whereas at the other end, if they're just telling you that, you know, they've done none of these things, and the danger is if you let them go off and, you know, pay a low fee and not have access to you, then potentially doing a disservice. So the conversation maybe has to be, look, for the first 12 months, I'd like us to work together like this. And therefore, after 12 months, we can assess whether we're starting to get traction with this. And you know what, if you're starting to get a hold of it, and I feel we can manage it, we can bring it down. So I answer your question, Steve. I think there's still a need to have 3 offers: the done for you, the done with you, and the DIY. But I think the assessment is really important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I love your this concept of authenticity of, if you're going to offer it to them and they go up to the top package and you know they're not getting the most out of it because they are doing a whole heap of stuff themselves, proactively calling them or having, I mean, we do quarterly meetings with our clients, having a conversation with them. And I had one, I'd share a really super turbo story because I'm conscious of the time, but client in Sydney, quarterly progress meeting. I do some of them in live when I'm in Sydney because it's nice to get out and about. Eastern suburbs, mate, you wouldn't go there. There's not a hipster to be seen. But they literally sat down and said, look, we're on the top package with you. We just want to have an honest conversation around whether or not you think this is the best thing for us to stay here. And so instead of getting defensive, I opened the conversation up and said, guys, ultimately, this is about your ability to get the most out of this. And we have a few ways that we can do that. And I help them make the decision.
Yeah.
And in the end, they chose to stay for another. And I said, look, let's do it on a 3-month rolling basis. Here's what you get for the extra stuff. You're not using it like a gym membership with a personal trainer and all that sort of extra jazz. If you want to get to these things, and it was to this point, they said, why aren't we doing it? I said, because you haven't locked down on what your goal is yet. So you don't have a reason to use all the extra stuff. Find a bloody goal and you'll have the reason. We left that meeting with them committing to spending about $1 million on a renovation. And then they sure as shit found a reason to use all the extra stuff to have to pay for it. So I couldn't agree 100%.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I'm very noticing all the time. So let me just quickly run through, and I'm going to skip through as much as I can at this next bit. So I'm very aware people have sort of got stuff on. For me, there's 6 steps to get this done. As I mentioned, the first thing is sit down and work out, of the clients you work with, what are the problems that they typically talk about and the impact. The second thing is really do that piece of work to find out what are your solutions, put in a nice package, and specifically the benefits of getting that in place. Being able to articulate, the fit, who your business is designed to help and why you have an affinity. Create your model and make it visual. Outline your processes in terms of steps, including, your ascending advisory model, the criteria, and then finally really be able to explain your pricing across how, when, and what you charge. So at the increasingly inaccurately named halfway mark, Steve, do you want to sort of pop in with the poll? Steve, you there? There we go. Okay.
Yeah, poll's done. Forgot to hit mute. Too many buttons to click.
So just click there. What's the one thing that you feel you can get, you can take from today to get your ongoing offer more compelling? Is it better at explaining the why and the what? Make sure you got the right offer for the right client. Make it a non-negotiable part of working with you, or create a model that enables you to explain the way you work. Would love to know from you which, if you're going to take anything and get it done, what's the one thing that you think is most relevant? Steve, how much of a hard finish have we got on today?
I think we'll try to stay on time and finish on time if we can. Okay. For those that are excited about our next webinar, stick around to 1 p.m. and we'll announce our exciting webinar. Almost as good as Stu, actually a little bit better, but we won't talk about that. It's amazing.
Damn you. Okay.
So we've got 34 voted. We'll just wait for one more. There's only one question. Hopefully we get to 35 and I can close this off.
Cool.
Let's just close it. There we go. Results being shared now.
Cool. So get better explaining the why and the what between the how. Yeah, that's pretty consistent with what I see around the place. Being able to, that's the whole thing. If you think about it, there's only two reasons that businesses struggle. One is cash flow. Generally, if you, that's something which trips people up. But the second thing that most businesses fail is because they don't have an offer. They're not offering something that people want. And often that's not about changing the offer. It's about working out how you can articulate so people can understand what it's all about. So there you go. Okay. Should we dive in and see how much of this second bit we can get done? One of my flaws is I always overestimate the amount I can get done in a period of time. But anyway, you think I'd learn after all this time. Should we dive in, Steve?
Yes, mate. Go nuts.
Cool. Okay. What I'm going to share next is about the experience. And we're not going to get through all of it, but I want to give you sort of some highlights. It's based on sort of a model that we have on the program called Year One. And the genesis of this is someone turned around to me once and said, Stu, all these modules, where do they fit? So they asked me to go through and put them into sort of context. So this is essentially the map that a client would go through if you're applying the Audere sort of processes all the way from don't know who you are, through your funnel, through your onboarding process, year one, 12 months later, you review. And I guess what I'm showing you this is I want to pull sort of elements from this to talk a bit about, if you're thinking about this in terms of an experience, what are the key parts to get right? Now, I'm not going to run through all these, but I'm going to hit you up with a couple of things that I think are especially relevant. If you're going to nail the experience and really be able to often just take what you already do and make clients more aware of how it fits in with them. The first one is probably one of the simplest. And this is the idea that, you know what, I think Tony Robbins once said, if you want to influence someone, you got to first understand what's already influencing them. And the problem is I think sometimes there's a disconnect between what we talk about, particularly if we're talking about a review. We're going to sit down with you on an annual basis and we're going to do a review. And we stop there. We kind of assume that they know what that means. And the truth is, if you can't treat this as a marketing exercise with your existing clients to inform them, to get them excited, to congratulate them on the commitment they made, then you're going to struggle to get engagement, let alone to get them to realize that they've made a phenomenal investment. The problem is we live in an instant gratification world, and what we're offering is an investment that has a 30-year payoff. I think one of my favorite sort of conversations was around George Eastman, the founder of Kodak. He once said, what product are we selling? And the sales force said, cameras and pictures, film. And he said, no, Kodak sell memories. It's such a perfect insight. And I think the question you got to ask is, with the review, what are you actually selling? The key to that, and part of what we do within the module, is to understand, right, what are the motivations? What are people's frustrations with their money? What are they fearing? What are the things they want? And finally, what are the aspirations? And if you can park your review process, this is a way of making sure that we keep you being able to save money over time. We make sure that we remove stuff from your budget, which is you're not going to notice, not the stuff that matters. We make sure that we can get you there faster and get you in other words, you put the review next to that, you stand a far better chance of actually getting traction. Not to mention, frankly, I think if you're not regularly letting people or congratulating them on making a decision to engage with advice and really reinforcing that idea that it's one of the best decisions they ever make, then I guarantee you the media is not going to do it for us. It's a marketing problem that we've got to set forward to do. Looking at the time, let me hit you up with one more, and then I'm just going to run you through the process to get this piece right. This is probably something I'm really, really passionate about. If you're trying to create an experience for your clients, you need to get this idea of meeting them halfway. Now, this goes against so much thinking that, you delivered value by doing it all for them and delivering, going beyond, what's expected. But here's the problem. Adam Smith, author of The Wealth of Nations, which is the blueprint for modern day capitalism, he nailed it when he said the paradox of value is that the real price of everything, what everything costs to the person who wants to acquire it, is the toil and trouble of acquiring it, which means all those clients you're doing everything for. You're doing all the heavy lifting, you're producing all those reports, you're giving them the cash flow, and you're not expecting them to work with you, either by paying you a significant fee that they attach to value, or by actually getting them involved in the process. You are undermining your own value. One of the things in our client service agreement, we have a page that talks about what we do. And increasingly, that's got smaller and smaller for obvious reasons. But one of the most important bits in this is for you to turn around to the clients and say, this is your commitment to us. Now, I reckon there's a bunch of people that already do this, but understand that this isn't just about accountability. This is actually about the experience and about making them feel a part of something that is valuable, that is useful, that they have, a commitment to, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So there's a few more things I could run through, but let's just skip through if that's cool. Let's talk about the how. For me, there's kind of 5 steps that if you're going to systematize this experience that I work through and the module works through. The first one I think is most important, which is start by understanding the clients. Because if you don't understand what they value, if you don't understand what they worry about, if you don't understand what they want, then the moment you start building that experience, you're doing it based on assumptions. One of the tools we use is called it's Quick and Dirty Why Stack. And it's a really fast way, a quick and dirty marketing plan, just asking those questions about, over on the x-axis, you've got stuff people want to move away from. On the other side, you've got stuff people want to move towards. At the top, you've got stuff which is immediately in people's focus, and then you've got stuff that they perceive. Anything they want to move away from is a frustration. So we think about a accumulator client. Some of the frustrations they might talk about is, I don't know where my money goes, being bombarded with jargon, not being able to get into the property market. Anything people want to perceive that they want to get away from is a fear. And again, living an increasingly restrictive lifestyle, watching debt get out of control. And then on the other side, we flip it out. We understand the wants, the things that they want, 20% of the income, clear options, a really clear plan, and finally understand that aspiration. Because when you do that, and you understand what they're likely to value, you can back it up with touch points, which can be automated deliverables, personal outreach, and a bit of wow. You can develop sequences for your review to motivate people. Not just expect that they get an email and go, they're going to turn up, but actually go, hey, we're 4 weeks out from your review. This is the most important job you're going to, this is an important meeting we have, and it's going to be the benefit for this, this, and this. Here's a case study of a client I worked with last year and the benefits, what they've achieved. And by the way, if we don't do this, here's the downsides. You can develop a consistent agenda that's not just about, old school, here's your portfolio report, how's the kids, have a cup of tea, but it's about, let's framing where we are on that journey. We started off talking about this. This is what you told me last year. Here's what's happened in the last 12 months. Here's what's coming up. And now here's what we're going to do next. And most importantly, go through that service offer that you might have built up over time and asking some hard questions about what's the difference between stuff that is valuable versus unvaluable, and where does that sit in the effort it's requiring you to deliver? Because frankly, if there's stuff you're doing that requires massive effort and it doesn't add value, you've got to ask some serious questions about why you're doing it. Even if you have stuff that's high value and high effort, that's where you start to looking for automation opportunities. So, Steve, do you want to drop the poll up next and we can sort of ask the questions?
Yeah, mate, this is the last poll. This is about how did they think today went. So,
cool. Very fast.
Yeah, well, you're hammering to. Now, obviously, slight product flog here. All of these other details will be, and this and a whole lot more will be available in your online course, won't it, mate? Yes. I imagine. And you've got some toolkits. Because I always found one of the things that I get asked for all the time is, have you got any templates? So they don't have to, because conceptually it's great to learn this stuff, but it's a bit of a nightmare to then have to go off and build a whole bunch of these.
Let me dive in. One of the things, I'm a bit of a framework nut. Everything I do is about frameworks and about making sure that people can go through and do some, actually work on it. Because if I'm the what's the word I'm looking for? If I'm the bottleneck and people have to go through me to get it, then that's just not the way around. So the workbook for this, and let me just dig it out. If you'd like me to give you a bit of a show. People interested in what the worksheets are?
Yeah, just really, really quickly, if you can, and then we'll announce our next webinar as well.
No worries. I am just bringing it up now.
While Stu's doing that, I'll announce our next webinar. It's someone that's known to you and me, and she's joined us today. It's the wonderful and amazing Peter D. So Peter Diamatides. Say hi, Peter, to everyone. You've been hanging. So Peter, I'm just going to make sure I get the exact title because it's pretty cool. The Art of Automation from Solopreneur to World Domination. With the idea that she is going to teach you what you can apply to either a one-man or one-woman band or a 30-people practice. So that's what's going to be in our next webinar. There's going to be an email going out tomorrow to all of you, basically with the live or the recorded version of today's webinar, more links to sign up for Stu's course, and how to sign up for Peter's webinar in 1 month. I think it's on the 13th, so it's not quite 1 month's time, so you don't have to wait as long. And Stu, I'll close off. The results for the poll are in there. Pretty much hit the spot with everybody. 3 people were a little bit light on, but that's good to know that Stu can lift his game for just a small number.
This is a half day's worth of content.
Only 2 people won't be joining us next time around, so thanks for hanging today at least. And 31 out of 33 loved what we brought, and we're hopefully adding value for everybody else as Perfect. I share those results very, very quickly. You guys don't need to see those, so I'll close that down and give it to Stu, who's obviously hammering through everything that he's got in the deck. Just give you a sense,
like emails, worksheets. I'm really big on the examples, so that's your agenda for your review thing, your cull piece, bonus tactics in there, all around future pacing. So yeah, I am, when it comes to worksheets and sort of giving people the framework, you know me, I'm really big on not just here's the idea, but here's how to take the idea and turn it into something tangible.
So I'm happy to hang, and I'm sure Stu's happy to hang for a few minutes for those of you that do have some Q&A that they want to ask. For everybody else that does need to bail now, thank you so much for hanging with us again on our second webinar. Awesome participation rate. Like, you know, we had 44 people turn up and 42 of you were still here. So right at the end, which is awesome, which means Stu's bang on. He's doing everything he needs to do. My jokes were short and timely. Any questions now, hit us up either in the chat box or straight into the Q&A, and we'll hang for a couple of minutes to answer those. And obviously with the links that we send out afterwards, it goes up in the on the YouTube channel. You'll be able to watch the recording and get those Q&As as well. So fire away if you do have any. We might just hang for a minute to see that.
Perfect. So, yeah, I mean, you would have heard a bit of this, Steve, and stuff that you've already done in the business.
Us, yeah, mate. Look, I mean, there's a reason why you and I like hanging out together and talking about this stuff, is because we sort of sing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak. I love the idea of, yeah, well, I mean, there's a reason why we have quarterly progress meetings with clients, and even our annual reviews. We actually don't do annual review meetings anymore. We buried them this year. Our clients still get annual reviews, but they're delivered to them via a video. And we just put them in this cycle of quarterly progress. So it's trying to keep them on track and then when they're having their quarterly progress, we'll send them a link and we'll say, guys, it's time to book it in. You can either do it live, virtual, and even if they don't turn up to that, they get a video. But we'll ask them, apart from the usual shit that we go through, which is your numbers and your results, is there anything else going on in your world, anything else that's changed that you want us to have a chat about while we're there? So we have this perpetual, this sort of rolling review style, which we've separated what goes into a traditional statement of advice, financial advice review.
Yeah.
And I realised I'd had my video off when I was doing Bunny Ears review, to try and go, well, it's 2 parts to this. It's 2 sides to the same coin. One side is what the client actually wants from you. And then the other side is, what do you need to deliver to be compliant and best practice and meet all of that stuff? But they don't need to be delivered at the same time. Because I don't think anyone likes the annual review. Like the traditional one, clients go, this is boring as shit. Advisors hate delivering it. So why force people to sit in a meeting room for 60 minutes and get bored to death while you're hating yourself?
At our last 2-day accelerator, which was in Melbourne, I worked with Sam Hawke from Your Compliance, and we developed a new module, a new exercise called the Review on Demand. So it's your Foxtel thing. And we asked this question, right, what if the review isn't annual? What are the reviews just when it's needed? What would you need to have in place to identify when it's needed? And the answer is it's a communications challenge. It's about you being able to work with the client so they know what to contact you about. You've got a certain amount of outreach, and at any point in time, you can sort of go, okay, something's happened. Do we need to review things? I to be honest, think that's the future, because I gave up for the most part having regular coaching meetings in my coaching. Now, when people need help, they reach out and we give them help. I coach them. So partly it's about us maintaining contact, but you know what? I think when people need help nowadays, the technology's there that they should get help when they need it, not just because it's the anniversary of the day that they got their plan. Totally with you on
So
that.
to that point, you want to quickly answer Peter's question around
Yeah.
whether or not you're seeing it, everything staying as a traditional 12-month, or in the US, I've heard a lot of planners talk about project work. So getting a specific job for a period of time, and then there's sort of retainer model. Are you seeing any of that happening here?
I'm not seeing it as much. And I personally think it's because the amount of work that needs to go into the engagement model is just a heck of a lot more. And I think there's too many businesses who are playing in that space, particularly with Gen X and Gen Y, they aren't necessarily at that stage of business growth where they can turn around and go, you know what, I'm gonna create this systematized 12-month program delivered by this where I can deliver it efficiently, effectively, and then I've got marketing upsell on the back of it. At the same time, I think there's a real demand for it. But the ones that I've seen on the program who've scoped it out, and the ones that I've seen, people like Ramit Sethi does short courses and whatnot, they're very, very specific. It's not, I'm going to work with you for 12 months. It's, here is the issue. Here is the curriculum. Here's what we're going to work through. Here's what you're going to do. And here's the outcome at the end of it all. And then the most important thing on that, Peter, is you've gone over the States and seen, is if you want to retain these clients and you want to work with them, you need to have, an upsell strategy at the end of it, a retention strategy they don't, and a long-term nurture strategy. But I think it'll happen, but I think it's the tip of the arrow at the moment.
Well, guys, girls, and Stews, thank you so much for hanging with us for effectively 10 minutes over. There's still 30 of you or 29 of you on board, which means that we're absolutely, hopefully, answering questions that you had. Join us next month. Keep an eye out. Send Stu some love in the chat box. Tell him how amazing his hair is as well. That he's done everything that we wanted from him today.
Did you get that? The as well at the end of it?
The Hugh Grant of financial services. He knows why. It's not for his philandering. It's for his good looks, his razor sharp wit, and that British accent. So thanks for hanging with us today, Stu. Thanks for all your questions and your comments and your feedback, crew. Keep an eye out for the email coming through, which is going to have the recording, opportunity to register for Peter's webinar next month. And I think we've almost sold out of those 50% off codes. So the next code will have 40% off for those of you that wanted to see the whole thing, think about it a little bit more before you do something about it. Remember to join us in the XY Academy Facey group as well. And have an awesome rest of the week, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, man. Thanks for everyone. Have a great week, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Bye.